Hello there. I know it's been a little while since I've actually done a video here on my Reluctant Collector site, but I decided since I recently did a video as a Star Trek fan, I would tell you a little bit about my collection of Star Trek resin models. Now, I used to go to a site called Starship Modeler online and Federation Models, and since uh, AMC Erdl have stopped making Star Trek models that are available largely on the mass market, you can occasionally find them, I decided to go for the resin models. Now, the resin models usually come in 3 or 4 pieces, and you assemble them with super glue or something like that, but in the end, you mostly just paint them and put on accompanying decals, your own homemade. One of the things I wanted to have was the Starship Armada from the movie Star Trek First Contact, which came out in 1996. And the first one I get is the Saber class. You can see my fingers about how long this is. This is about 4 inches long. I'd say about, I don't know, actually 3 inches long, 4 inches in width. I don't know if you see the details. I painted all those lifeboat hatches on. And on the front, so the front looks like. And here's the bottom. See the registry number of the Starship. I don't know how much closer I can get this webcam. But as you can see, I've done quite a lot of work on this. Painted the front of the nacelles red. And these are all to scale. The next one would be the Steamrunner class. This was actually, for the most part, a 2-piece model with the 2 little nacelle cones. I don't even know if you can see them. They're red on the side. And see that little back area right here? I painted all the detail on that myself because they really had no guidepost. That on the bottom you see is a huge decal. You can see the little circuits and whatnot on the side. Really good detail. Front deflector dish. This starship is actually called the Appalachia. There's the bridge on the front. And here's the back of that same starship. You see the sublight impulse engines on that. The next one in the series is a Norway class. Now this was a little bit more complex. The Norway class, I had to get a lot of guides from the First Contact technical manuals online to do the painting on this properly. Because it's actually a mixture of grays and different sorts of tans. You see I kind of painted all that detail in front. That is not a decal, that is raised. The lifeboat hatches on this actually did not come with it. There were no real decals for this starship, so I had to make them myself. Those decals that I had left over from an old AMT Enterprise E kit that I just put on there. This ship is called the Budapest. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe it's a little blurred again. That's NCC/64923. I made that decal myself using a computer and decal paper. It's kind of difficult, but I did it. That's the bottom. Again, a lot of detailed paint work. I put the Federation symbol in the middle right here. See that? That was from the AMT Enterprise E model as well. And there's the back with the painted in red impulse engines. And I don't know what that is on top. Maybe some sort of an observation deck. And here's the last one in the series, my favorite, the Akira class. Now, when the show Star Trek Enterprise came on and they introduced NX-01 in the TV guide, they showed the starship from above, and it looked a lot like this. The Enterprise, commanded by Scott Bakula. Now, this ship is called the Thunderchild. It actually came with decals. And the windows on this, there were no real windows, drawn in, so I had to use the internet again as a guidepost, and I used Sharpie pen for that. Even on the bridge, you can see a little bit of that. I apologize to all of you for the blur, but this is a webcam and has somewhat of a limited range. I'm going to try the zoom feature, see if that works a little bit, so you can see some detail. Actually, that works quite nice. See that? There are the windows I was telling you about. And there's the name of the ship. Just wanted to see if I could zoom in just a little bit and see how it looks. And that's that particular starship. Now moving on to other things. This is a non-Federation starship. This is a Romulan bird of prey, also from Enterprise. They used this in the original Star Trek series as well. But the difference is this ship is more curved inward. It looks more like a crab. And it's painted in different shades of green. This was mostly using craft paint that was very thick and opaque. Only one certain type of craft paint will work with this. And it came with these little transparent, well, they used to be transparent, nacelle caps. Now on the bottom, as you can see, I actually painted in some wings. It's a very well detailed model. It's actually one of my favorites. The Romulans are very artistic in the way they design starships in the Star Trek canon. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, the Star Trek canon just means, whatever is in an episode or a Star Trek movie or, anything like that, that is considered fact. Internet fan-created series, the pocket novels, the comic books are not canon. People would like to consider them that, but if it's disproved by a TV or a movie, it isn't part of the canon, and that's the way it works in science fiction and a lot of other genres. And that canon will become more important as I talk. Here's another Romulan ship. This is from the movie Star Trek Nemesis, or so they say. I don't remember actually seeing this in the movie. It's a little variation on the 23rd century model. They had a good painting guide, so I painted it kind of a mustard yellow. What you see here for details in the wing are decals. It's the same thing for the bottom, but I haven't put the decals on, and I don't know where they are. I might just paint something on. Sort of a semi-complete model. I really like it, although it is kind of small, as you can see, compared to this other type of Romulan ship, when actually they're supposed to be about the same size in actuality. This is the USS Dauntless, NX-01A. Now, this is actually not a real starship. It was from an episode of Star Trek Voyager, used by an alien called Arturus to try to deceive the crew of that ship into thinking they were going to get home. Anyway, again, I had to use some of my own decals. I painted in my own windows, and those are the warp nacelles. This starship was supposed to use something called quantum slipstream technology. It wasn't regular warp drive. I wish I could get more detail with this webcam, but I can't because it's only a webcam. And this is how the quantum slipstream drive works. I can't give you the scientific explanation, but that's the cool thing about Star Trek. They always give you new science concepts that are relatively realistic and you can actually deal with. There's some impulse engines on the bottom that I drew in on both sides. This is also from Star Trek Voyager, from an episode about a crew of time travelers from the Federation in the 29th century. And this is a time ship called Relativity, commanded by Captain Braxton. This ship is a completely different design from anything else in Star Trek. It's kind of a one-piece ship. As you can see, there's a lot of details in here. And in the back, it actually looks like something you'd see more in Doctor Who. More of a fanciful design. And even some of the decals are kind of like the symbols for the Time Lords on that show. I don't know how big this ship is or what its power source is, but I'm sure there's a lot of fan fiction out there that's, goes into that a little bit more. This is a very fun starship to make, I have to admit, because it's mostly a paint and decal job. I love it. This is the Datalist Class. Now, before Star Trek Enterprise came out, this was what 22nd century Starfleet actually looked like. Similar to the Starship Enterprise, give you a little more detail on the back, but more industrial, a cylindrical secondary hull, very big and industrial kind of primary hull. Actually, it's interesting, if NASA had progressed in technology to ships capable of traveling past the speed of light, I think we might actually have something like this now. But we don't, because we're still using money. And you can't make starships with money. It'd be too expensive. That's why they don't have money in Star Trek. They have to go by their resources. But anyway, it's a pretty good model. The nacell's a little crooked. Can push that up here. But see, I did that design, the intercoolers, by myself. There's little pinpoints in front of the Bussard collectors. This is a Nova-class science vessel, the USS Pulsar. I gave that a nickname. It's actually the endgame version with a bubble dome on top. Also seen in a slightly different version on the episode of Star Trek Voyager Equinox. I don't know if you can see the detail here. It's a very small ship. Kind of a fun one to build. Call these little ships mini-mites. Kind of a little fun name I have for them. That's what that one looks like. Now, this ship I ordered from a site that actually makes up their own designs. This is a non-canon ship. Actually, it has no name. I named it the Spector. It's sort of a very big shuttlecraft, actually, I'm thinking. Kind of Galaxy class sort of nacelles that I painted in. And all the detail on the bottom, as you can see. It's probably an escort ship. I'd probably say, may have a bridge, but probably a crew of no more than 40 or 50. Sort of like the Defiant from Deep Space Nine. Now, you've all seen this in the bottom of Voyager, right? But you never see it used. And when you turn it over, this is what it is. It's a shuttlecraft runabout. It's called the Aero Shuttle. I'm so glad they had this ship. I can try to zoom in and show you some detail. There it goes blurring again. But anyway, there's the front cockpit. The warp nacelles, you can see the Bussard collectors on the front. As clear as I can get them anyway. There's some more windows in the back. And there's few details, but you can kind of get the gist of it, I think, from there. Now, this ship I can't zoom in on too much. This is actually not a shuttlecraft. This is supposed to be the Starship Raven. Oops, I dropped it. From the Star Trek Voyager episode, also entitled Raven. It was the ship piloted by the parents of Annika Hansen, who became 7 of 9 on that show, which was assimilated by the Borg. I don't know much about this ship or how big it is. Probably like a really elaborate runabout. I put some little detail up there. I don't know if you can see it. It's a very small ship. Hard to see in detail. This ship is the Valoris. It's a Gallant-class starship actually based on early designs for the Defiant. As you can see, it's very similar, only more bird-like. There's the name Valoris on the front. Transporter emitters. It's similar to the Defiant, as you can see. I can see this being used in a lot of fan fiction. Probably a battleship of some kind, from the look and shape of it. Kind of bird of prey-like. This is a very big model, as you can see next to my hand. This is about 8 inches long, about the size of a conventional model. This is the USS New Orleans, a New Orleans class starship. They had a bunch of these in Star Trek The Next Generation, and as you can see, it looks an awful lot like the Enterprise D from that series, except it has those big things in the back. I guess weapons clusters. I don't know what those are. Like a scaled-down Galaxy class. Now, as you can see, the back warp nacelle is really badly bent. Got to find a way to get that back into shape. This is the way the model was built. But I put all the details on, and I painted in all the little shaded areas myself. I love doing those with the Galaxy class starships, and I made the lifeboat hatches by myself. The main deflector dish. I always had a problem. Let me get this in the light here so you can see it. Painting this just right. There we go. But I never quite got it until that one. I wish I could illuminate that. It's blue and red, just like the Enterprise D from Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, this little guy is modeled no bigger than the tip of my fingernail, and it's of the Delta Flyer. I painted it completely accurately, although it was with little tiny pinprick brushes that I got at the hobby shop. I can try to show you detail, but it's so tiny. Actually, it's meant to fit in the back of the Erdl Voyager model with the open shuttle bay. This is another non-canon starship that I got. I call this the Progenitor. It's a kind of a little scout ship. Kind of a fat bottom saucer with a little sensor dish on the bottom. You know, deflector dish there. Probably from the 24th century era Star Trek, Next Generation Voyager. I'm sure there's a story that a lot of fans could write about a ship like this. Be kind of cool to do that. This is another non-canon ship, probably from the 22nd century. Was big around... Actually, I got this when Enterprise was still on, I believe. in 2005, or at least it was made then. I don't think I was getting models at that particular time. This is a Wasp class starship called USS Wasp. Kind of like the Datalist Class ship, only a dreadnought. The back of it is kind of tubular. This looks like something you might see in the animated Star Trek series from the 70s. Looks like it might have been used in a cartoon. But it could be canon too. As far as I'm concerned, it's a model, and I just think it's a nice model. Now, here's another interesting mixture I got. This is the USS Redemption. I don't remember the name of the class of this, but it's a mixture between the Sovereign class, Enterprise E, with a circular saucer section, and Voyager, as you can see on the back. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's not dissimilar to the Starship Titan that Riker has in the new series. I painted it basically like the Enterprise E. Maybe it looks a little bit salt and peppery, but you know, I think the detail worked out pretty well. I'm not disappointed. And here's the prize in my collection, the USS Prometheus. Now, this is a very special starship, and I'll tell you why. It was featured in one episode of Star Trek Voyager, starring Andy Dick as the ship's medical officer. And the unique thing about this starship is it can split into 3 parts, and this model can too. This would be like the saucer section, comes off, and you can see where it fits in there, and that goes over here. And then the middle section actually comes out, and for battle. And it becomes 3 starships, and here's the bottom of that. And this ship flies off into the distance like that. And here's the bottom of this starship, and that flies off too. And it's called multi-vector assault mode. But when you put them all together, they function as one starship. And this was kind of at the end of Star Trek. And the complete ship, when it flies, would look something like that. Basically, well, sorry, that's not actually going in very well. This should be magnetic. Flies off like that. There you go. There's the whole starship. That's very fragile. And here's a space dock I built. It was one of the first models I got of the space dock from Star Trek Nemesis. It was meant to fit the Enterprise E, but about all it really fits would be a ship like the Steamrunner class ship. Can actually go into it, see? And it can actually come out. Zoom. There you go. Now, this inspired me to actually make models out of polystyrene clay, such as Sculpey, which is what I use as Sculpey 2, which is a similar polyurethane mixture to resin. And I made this ship. It's kind of a speculative design of my own, kind of a Starship Enterprise looking thing. And I used decals from one of my resin kits. This ship is called the USS Hiroshima, named in tribute to the Japanese city that was the first city to be destroyed. And hopefully, along with Nagasaki, the last city to be destroyed by an atomic weapon. And interestingly enough, I kind of wrote my own little fan fiction story that this is kind of a ship of exploration. You know, named that way as a reminder that we should explore rather than destroy other people and other worlds. Anyway, those are my Star Trek models, and there are more to come. More resin models and a lot more of these Sculpey 2 models coming up, and this is just a preview, but I just wanted to show what I had so far. So enjoy, and I hope to hear your inputs in the comments. See you later.